Hi, and welcome to L.I.F.E, the Los Angeles Institute for Film Excellence, the show that truly caters to the indie filmmaker. I am George Vincent, your host, and today we have the honor of talking with actor, writer, producer, director, Rodney Damon Collins. Hey, Rodney, and welcome to the show.
Hey, what's up, George? Hey, thanks for having me on the show, man. It's a privilege to be here right now.
Of course. Yes. No, thank you for making time. I'd like to ask you about your background firstly, and where are you originally from?
Oh man, originally from this big mecca, this huge state called Ohio.
Nah.
You know, a lot of good stuff comes from Ohio, but I grew up in this town called Toledo, Ohio. Then I moved to Cleveland after graduating from college. Lived in Cleveland for about 20 years and met, my wife. I'm married for 25 years, have a beautiful family, son and daughter. And then, decided that I would take an offer to move out to LA about a little over 5 years ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was my next question. When
Yeah.
did you come out here? As far as your background goes,
Yes.
what were you doing before you started on this path?
Well, the funny thing is, I actually, in high school, my senior year, I wrote my first sketch comedy. I knew I wanted to work in the industry, but the way I grew up was I was going to be first generation college. There was some pressure to, really go to school and get a good job. So I really didn't focus on the theater or acting as much in college. I got a political science degree and, history, studied that type of stuff. And I worked for a very large insurance company right out of college. They hired me and I interned with them in college, and they was like, "We love this guy. We're gonna offer him a job." They offered me a job 6 months before I graduated from college.
Oh wow!
Being a broke college student, 6 months before you graduate, you get a job. I think I'm gonna do that. I'm not doing anything else.
Right.
So that's what happened. I took the job. They moved me to Cleveland, Ohio. But you know what, George? I remember the first day I walked into this beautiful corporate job, which I thought it could supplement a dream I really had. I remember they introduced me to my mentor, and he was describing to me, his career and everything he's accomplished over the years, and I couldn't really hear him because all I was doing was looking at the way he looked physically, and hair just about all gone. Very overweight. You can tell stress, a lot of stress, and he talked about what they call the golden handcuffs. He was like, "Yeah, you stay here long enough, when they put the golden handcuffs on you, you'll never leave." You're talking about somebody who left from work that day and went home feeling petrified. I was like, I don't want to do this the rest of my life.
And that's why.
Yeah.
There's a rumor. Now tell me if this is right or wrong. But there's
Yeah.
a rumor that maybe you were looking into ministry or that type of background. Is that true?
That is definitely true. I grew up in a church family. My parents married 52 years. I love them. But they raised me and my brothers in the church, and I always felt a calling to help and serve people. So while I was in corporate America, I still felt that calling and that draw. What I did is, I'm gonna give you a cliff notes, because I got to give you a little cliff note. But I took an opportunity to leave corporate America to work for a nonprofit, which was a church, and oversee a lot of the youth development and different missionary type work. I fell in love with it, and before you know it, I was in seminary. They paid for me to get a master's degree, and I was like, I really do enjoy this. And the most rewarding experience I had was when we went to Monrovia, Liberia, to help build a school.
What brought you to Los Angeles? Was it the acting?
Oh, I can definitely say the acting is one of the main motivations to live in LA. I used to come to Los Angeles a lot as a kid. When I was preparing to come out to Los Angeles to work in the industry, a lot of my friends in the industry in Cleveland would say, "Hey man, we got all these different film production companies coming to Cleveland, man. We have the Cleveland Film Institute. We have all this stuff that's building. Cleveland's getting ready to become a big market for film. They're building a soundstage." I said, "A soundstage?" I was like, last time I checked, LA has numerous sound stages, too many to count. One sound stage is not going to change the industry. Two, most of the film production companies that are coming to Cleveland, they already have cast their principal leads, and what they're coming for is, one, they love the location, they get tax breaks, and two, they need some bodies to run around in the background to help the film be realistic, and we will be that bodies. And I told him, I was like, I'm not going to do that. Either I'm fully in this industry or I'm not.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Great words of wisdom. As an actor, you've done films, you've done TV shows. Let me ask you, Rodney, which ones are you most proud of? Which credits really stand out for you?
You know, well, there's two credits in particular, but one of them was on a film called Emerson Heights. Reason why I say that, I had just moved to LA. And I really didn't know anyone. And I remember I was a part of a Facebook group, and they were just, a casting director came on and said, hey, I just need somebody who's willing to come on and do one background scene, you know, and they filmed it at Castaway's restaurant, which is my favorite restaurant in LA. You know, I love Castaway's. But the plan was for me to come up there, and I was, you know, just play this little role. And I was like, okay, cool, I'll take it, because one, it was a Sunday afternoon, not doing much on a Sunday in Cleveland. I'm not in Cleveland, but in Los Angeles, just relaxing. So I was like, I'll go ahead and volunteer. And it was non-paid.
Yeah.
But what I did is I treated it as if I was a principal. I showed up. I beat the production crew there. They were coming from another location, and they were like, how long you been here? I said, about 30 minutes. I said, well, I'm here to work. And I was like, okay. They nodded, and we go into, you know, Castaways. We see the setup, and we start running through the scene. And before you know it, the executive producer was there at the time too, and she came up to the director, and they were whispering a little bit, and then they came to me and said, Rodney, we kind of looking at it, and we really looking at the scene, and we kind of feel like it should be a little bit more realistic. Maybe we need to give you some lines. Are you comfortable with lines? Are you an actor? I was like, yeah, I think I can handle that. I was like, yes, I'm an actor. And so then before you know it, we took a break on set, and they brought a contract to me. I'm like, oh. And they signed it, and they said, you're going to be paid for the day. We're crediting you as a principal for this film. I was like, what?
Wow.
I went purely to just serve the project and meet people.
Sure.
So that's a lesson for people, is that as an actor, we're here to serve the industry. Not, you know, love me, need me, want me. No, it's like, I'm here to serve the project. I'm here to serve the story. So that's one. And then the other one came from my old background days, and I was kind of just hanging out on set, and I noticed a guy sitting there doing background, but he was writing the whole time. His head was down. His name is Nico Sparks, and he was writing, and I'm like, so I just kind of said, this guy's kind of interesting. Let's see what's up. So I introduced myself, and before you know it, we're having a conversation. And he was like, yeah, I'm creating this show, this TV show. I was like, really? He said, yeah, I've already done a graphic novel for it, a comic book. I was like, really? And so he was breaking it down. He's like, it's a superhero show, and it's original, and I'm just going to create this thing. And I've been, you know, kickstarting and raising the funds to shoot some episodes. He said, I'm going to pitch it. I was like, oh, that's cool. I was like, man, I wish you the best. And, you know, we exchanged numbers, and I just kept in touch with him because he was a good guy, and I really respected what he was doing. I was like, man, I see myself doing that type of work. 6 months later, this was September of 2017. I remember like it was yesterday. He calls me. He's like, hey, Rodney, what's up, man? What you up to? I'm like, you know, just chilling. You know, I was at home hanging out, and he was like, well, you remember the show I was telling you about? I was like, I vaguely remember. So he broke it down to me and said, well, guess what? I pitched it out to several networks, you know, streaming. He said, but somebody bid.
Nice.
He's like, Amazon said they want it. I was like, really? Yeah. He was like, no, it's not like huge, big budget, but he said, after meeting you, I wrote a character for you.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, what? So I'm like really confused, you know. Sure. And he said, well, what I would like to know is, are you interested? I said, well, I'm definitely interested. And he told me what the character was, Dr. Watson. And so then I asked him, I was like, you need me to audition? He started laughing. He was like, well, you want to make it harder? He was like, I'm trying to give you the role. I'm calling you. And I said, I accept. So those two roles to me stood out so far in this journey, because neither one was the intention, like, oh, I just want to be cast on something. It was about building a relationship, just understanding, somebody's journey. So it's another principle I learned,
Great tips, because we're going to have a lot of, actors who are watching or, aspiring actors. So just these are great tips that lessons learned that they can actually walk away with from this episode. So nice, very nice. What is the biggest challenge that you've had to overcome, and have you overcome it?
I would say my biggest challenge was, because I've overcome it now, just being me.
Okay.
And accepting who I am. And when I go before casting for roles, understanding that whatever's meant for me is for me. And really being happy and content with the journey. So that, I would say, that was my biggest hurdle, because this industry, it really teaches you a lot of lessons about yourself. But one big word it teaches me, in all caps, italicized, bold, underscore, is humility.
Yes.
It teaches me that. So
fantastic. Yeah. Fantastic. Really. Now, you're not only an actor, you're a producer, director, writer. Tell us about your Produce Your Own Life podcast.
Produce Your Own Life podcast basically came from the fact that I had to realize that I'm personally accountable for things happening in my life. And as a result, if I'm realizing this, and that there's no more victim blaming, or they didn't do this for me, or this isn't made for me, or this isn't made for me, how many other people deal with this? So I'm like, man, this is a great message, and it's one that's going to lift people up. So I wanted to put on a production that's going to inspire people.
So I know you've written short stories, I know you've written podcasts, but I don't want to talk about those. I'd like to talk about your book. From my understanding, it's very personal, and it's called Shattered, A Journey Through the Pieces. Tell us about that.
Man, George, this is such a, I call it a passion project, because it took me several years to do it. I originally started writing it back in 2016.
Wow.
And it took me a couple years to finish, because I wasn't for sure if I wanted to share.
Put it out there.
Yeah, because once again, you make yourself extremely vulnerable as a writer. You put yourself out there. But this story had to be told. It's not a full autobiography, but it's basically about various journeys I've had in my life and how it brought me to where I'm living the life I want to. But through that, I had to experience some life-shattering moments.
Any current projects that you're working on that we should know about?
Yes, one project that we're working on is called Expectation. It is my first Christmas film that we're working on, and I'm working with Arc Reactor Productions, and we plan to be done shooting by the end of May, first part of June, to have it released for the fall into film festivals, or hopefully be on TV, you never know. But that is one project I'm very excited about. Me being a Christmas baby, to finally be able to do a Christmas film is like, yes, I've been waiting for this. Right. Another exciting project is I get a chance to play a superhero in a couple projects. One friend of mine invited me to be a part of a project where it's a fan film, and I'll actually be playing Blade.
Oh, how cool.
Yeah, so the vampire hunter. So I'm looking forward to that. So I've been, beefing up a little bit, working on a sword play. So I'm looking forward to that. Another project I'm working on is entitled Resurrection. And I want to thank my very, very good friend and director, Bob Bharatwal. And I'm looking forward to being a part of this project. And Disciple Sokum is my character. So I can't wait to, see my character in action and put some work in on that too. And then there's another project I just finished shooting called Incandescent Love.
Before we do wrap this up, I definitely want to do what I love to do, which is called This or That. Are you ready?
Hey, let's go.
Meat or veggies?
Meat.
Pop or indie?
I'm going to say indie.
Okay. Blue or red?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say red. I think red looks good on my skin. Yeah, close to a little.
Facebook or Twitter? Sneakers or sandals?
Sneakers.
Coffee or tea?
Tea.
Really?
Hmm.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
Agreed.
Yes.
LA or New York?
L.A.
Wow. And we'll finish it off with this one. Indie film or blockbuster?
Boy. Oh my God.
Better answer, right?
Indie film. I would say indie film. Yeah, I would definitely
No
say.
pressure,
Yeah, I would
everyone.
say indie film because I think there's a feeling of satisfaction that you can't get from doing a blockbuster. When you produce something that's been your vision, it far exceeds any amount of fame, whatever you get from being a part of somebody else's story. Your story, to me, is just like when I wrote my book. My story is important. So that's how I look at Andy.
Rodney, it's been a pleasure to have you. I thank you for taking time out to meet with us today, and I truly appreciate you. And I wish you nothing but the best.
George, thanks for having me, man. I'm looking forward to, us continue to do stuff together in the future. Thank you, man.
Absolutely.
All right.